Hi, everybody. I'm just digging that new intro. What do you guys think about that? It's me, Sarah G. Witch MD. That's Master of Divination. I am coming to you on this fantastic Tarot Tuesday, and I have a guest that I love with all my heart, Rhiannon Spaziano from Phoenix Tattoo, formerly Phoenix Tattoo and Wellness, but now we're just Phoenix Tattoo. Say that 5 times fast.
Right.
So how we start the show in general is I'm going to pull a card, and because it's Tarot Tuesday, of course, and we will talk about what it means to each one of us. And then usually what happens is that the card will end up showing up throughout the show and throughout what we talk about, because that's what the universe does to us, right?
Yes.
So So I have the Starman Tarot, and I'm just going to go ahead. It's kind of big, so I'm not going to shuffle. I'm just going to go ahead and throw a card at myself. And it is Strength. Strength. So number 8, Major Arcana, it is Strength. If this doesn't embody you, I don't know what does, but let's talk about it. What do you think, Rhiannon?
Well, Strength obviously is a very strong card in general, hence the word strength. But I think that really embodies in general tenacity. You know, everybody has that. You know, everybody goes through ebbs and flows, and the majority of us manage to make it through on the other side. So that strength, you're pulling that chariot, and you're just going, and you're just kicking butt.
This has beautiful visual interpretation here. Obviously, it's incredible. But the thing that I like to pull out about Strength is that not only is it the infinity symbol that we see, and let me see if I can kind of pinpoint it. It is here somewhere. But the infinity symbol that usually goes above Strength, which is the number 8, that being said, it's usually a feminine energy that we see. It's not always indicative of the parts of a feminine person, but it's that it doesn't matter what you are, as long as you have this kind of fortitude within yourself, you can open that lion's mouth, right? So I think it's absolutely not a coincidence that we pull this card tonight, especially for you and all of you, the journey that you've been on, because you standing in that power of being a strong feminine presence, or a strong presence in general. And like, you kick butt, you take names, you are an amazing artist. You are an amazing psychic and medium. Like, all of these, like, you are stronger than you could ever realize. But it's the grace that I love about it. It's that you know, you're not headbutting people to show them how strong you are. It's in your heart. It's in who you are. And life has dealt some really shitty hands to you, but you've really taken every moment of them and made them your own, and learned the lessons that you needed to. That energy's always moved for you. So I love that Strength came out tonight, especially for you. And let's talk about you anyway.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Do that.
Yeah. So tell me, so you have your hands in a lot of different things. And, you know, being in the profession that you're in, and being a very strong female presence within, tell me a little bit about just, you know, not only the metaphysical presence that you have, but also the tattoo presence. Like, tell me about your artistry and like where you've started, just a little synopsis.
Well, I've always been an artist, so that's kind of always where I came from. I've been tattooing for 27 years, and I've owned my shop, Phoenix Tattoo, for almost 10 years. It'll be 10 years in May already.
Oh my God.
Crazy, right? The metaphysical aspect of things, I've always had that. I mean, my name is Rhiannon. That's my birth name. You know, kind of was born with that. But you know, I grew up a little bit, I went to Catholic school for a few years, and I grew up a little bit later, like going to, you know, church and stuff like that. And it wasn't jiving with me. I kept asking too many questions. I didn't like it. So the metaphysical aspect really just hit home with me when I was about 12 or 13, when I bought my very first spell book at Pyramid Books on Thayer Street.
Oh my God.
Back in like 89 or 90.
That's throwing it back.
Yeah. So it's always, I've always had an interest in tarot and all of that. So it really, once I got over the old guilt of things, I was like, you know what, this is where I'm supposed to be. And I've metamorphosized. I've gone through. I've done all sorts of different things, and now I kind of have my own way of doing things.
Yep. Yep. I agree. And it's really funny because actually today I was talking with a client about that transitionary period of we go through changes every 7 to 13 years. And here you are on their street around that time frame of asking a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
Are you really drawn into that metaphysical presence, or you're really drawn into spell work in general? And my thing was tarot, but you're drawn into something entirely different because we do ask a lot of questions, especially at that formative age of this is what we're supposed to do, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense.
Right. But it's why? And then if nobody can answer you, you're like, but why?
But why?
Doesn't make sense.
But why?
I don't understand.
Right. Exactly. And then, I think that the artistry that you have, as well as the metaphysical presence that you also have, go hand in hand, because what you are doing is that you're putting your art, i.e. your energy and your love, on somebody else in their body. So you have to be able to have that, that idea of like moving that energy along, like you're taking it from you, literally putting it on their body. So, you've been doing this for such a long time, 27 years, that you know your own self when it comes to if there's somebody that you don't want to work with, or if somebody's got something going on, you can feel it.
Oh yeah.
Had a great day, like you can feel all of that.
Oh, absolutely.
It happens all the time.
Oh yeah. And I especially if I have clients that come in all the time, I can pinpoint whether they're having a bad day or not.
Yeah.
And I'm also a Reiki master. I don't do Reiki. Like it used to be part of our services, but I don't really do it much. But I essentially do it when I'm tattooing people. So if their higher self wants it and I have my hands on them, even though there's gloves, the energy is still going through. So it really gives them that sense of calm and peace. And I've had a lot of clients be like, I feel so calm here. I feel my tattoos are healing so much faster than normal because it's that healing energy and it helps with their anxiety. So it all to me goes hand in hand because of how ancient tattooing is and how ritualistic it is on a historical level. And a lot of people don't know that, or they don't really understand that. It's not just slapping a picture on somebody. It's very deep because this individual is trusting you to do a good job, and do the best work you possibly can do.
Right.
It's kind of scary at first, but it just becomes kind of second nature, and every single person is different. Right.
And feeling the energy that they are experiencing or that they're kind of involved in, I can understand where, and I've been tattooed by you, so I totally understand that you do have a calm presence, and the way that your intention is of putting this, beautification on their body in some way, whether it's meaningful to them spiritually or just, it's a pretty piece of art, whatever. But I think that it makes more sense when you do it with intention and you do it with that Reiki mindset or that energetic healing mindset that you have. And that being said, I feel like a lot of what you've been putting out there and that you've been sharing with the world has been a lot of memorializations and a lot of different things that you're also healing as you're doing this for somebody.
Yeah.
And I noticed that a lot of things that you post lately, it's been, thank you so much for letting me do this for you, or allowing me to give you this beautiful memorialization or this, this great representation of something. And I, for one, am so touched by that, because they don't even realize what they're doing for you by asking you to do something like this for them,
Right. And to me, it doesn't matter how small or simple the piece is. That is going to make somebody feel better about themselves. Baseline, it's going to make them feel confident. It's going to make them feel like a badass bitch, and that's what I'm all about, and people are drawn to Phoenix Tattoo. And the reason why I opened it was because I wanted to bring out my witchiness, and because that to me goes all hand in hand for myself. And I have people from all walks of life walk into my shop. It doesn't really matter who or what they believe in. But, I want to bring that energy out there. So it's a little more like in the forefront to be like, okay, we're more than just a tattoo shop. You get the experience of things. You get the experience of, the healing aspect of it and the relaxation of it, even though you're getting tattooed.
Right. Well, I mean, it kind of is in a certain way, especially if it is, the idea of the sound, the idea of the vibration, because what do mothers do when they have babies, or, anytime you, and I'm sure that you do this with Dean too, who is your familiar, you pat. Babies get pat on the butt. It's part of what we do with this momentum of patting or of tapping, which makes a lot of sense for that healing modality as well. Goes hand in hand with that ancient, kind of presence of tattooing in general. So it makes a lot of sense. Now, how long have you been in the location that you're in right now?
It'll be 10 years on 5/5. So May 5th, it'll be 10 years.
So you opened your location, which is on Phoenix Avenue in Cranston.
Yeah.
And the name had nothing to do with a location, correct?
No, I named the shop 2 years prior to even thinking about opening my own business, because I have been through the ringer in this industry. And I named it Phoenix because of what the Phoenix represents. I've had people tell me that I can't do it, that I'm no good, that I'm never going to make it, that I should get every negative thing you could ever experience, or the rug pulled out from underneath me, people who I trusted, people who I really put a lot of, trust and love into, did me dirty, but it's all learning curves, because a lot of those people were involved in the industry, and I learned what I needed to learn from them. And when it got to the point, I was about 18 years into my journey with this, and I'm like, I need to open up my own studio. I want something where everybody who can come in and feel comfortable, and there's no ego, there's no bullshit. Like, I want everybody to come in and get tattooed or talk about a tattoo. So it just happened. The story, I can kind of say it really quick, how I found it on Phoenix was my my partner and I, we were out to lunch or whatever. And at the time, me and my best friend, who's also my business partner, Chrissy, we were looking for a place, just kind of perusing. So we were in Cranston, we were at Marchetti's, and, there was a big building that me and James kind of looked at. He's like, oh, look, Phoenix Ave. Wouldn't it be funny if you found a place on Phoenix Ave? I'm like, that would be hilarious. Didn't think much of it. 3 or 4 days later, I had an appointment with an accountant on Phoenix Avenue, up the street from where I'm at. And I was talking to her about the business and what I wanted to do. And she goes, wouldn't it be funny if you found a place on Phoenix Avenue? 2 days. And I was like,
okay,
I got you, universe. So I went, opened up my laptop, went on Craigslist. First place that popped up was 30 Phoenix Ave.
Oh my goodness.
So I was like, so we opened that shop on just about $2,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was insane.
Been such a success.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just came back from New Orleans and doing a tattoo convention, and you've been in Motif magazine. You've been all over the place. And
we're going to be in a tattoo industry magazine that's coming out, I think, next month.
Oh my
God.
God.
The shop is going to be in that. And the New Orleans convention was something that I have always wanted to do, but it was mostly because I had I've worked in shops where, again, with the individuals that I really trusted, that were like, we're going to go do this. And they always kind of left me out of it to a certain extent. So this is one of those things where I really wanted to do that as more of an FU. Yeah. But also, this is what I've wanted to do since I started my journey as a tattooer. And it's my shop, and we're all doing it. And I did get misty-eyed when we had all the things up.
I'm sure you did.
A little emotional. And James told me to, he was like, I'm proud of you. He's like, so stop being a bitch. I was like, I'm sorry. That's just our love language. But, it was a big deal for me. It was a big deal. And we did it, and we all were busy.
Yep.
We traveled 20 some odd hours, and I had people flying from New Jersey to get tattooed and people local. So I was like, that's very awesome to me. I was like,
yeah. What an accomplishment, because if you think about it, and you stayed afloat during COVID, and you've stayed afloat during your own medical journey, and what you've, and putting yourself in this place of, I want to do it for my own purpose, my own reasons, my own bucket, whatever it is. And you did it, and you were successful. And the amount of people that came to see you and that are so impressed with you in general, like you could see it's just totally changed the approach of what your business is and what
Yeah.
you are. You can totally see that. And I'm proud of you too. I think that
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you.
One thing after another, you are kicking ass and taking
Mhm.
names, and it's just one thing after another that, you know, you've been totally, and since I've known you, you know, it's hasn't been easy, but you make it so that it's
Right.
not a big deal. Like, okay,
Nothing is easy. You just got to work for it, you know?
exactly. And we're doing it and we're
Yeah.
going and we're moving forward, right? And that's what
Mhm.
you've been all about. So let's talk a little bit about the metaphysical side of you, because I know that, you know, not only are you an accomplished tattoo artist, business owner, and, you know, you have another side of you that is witch, as well as Lady Rhiannon is what, you know, I think that's what you'd like to be called on your other side when you do readings and things of that nature. So let's talk a little bit about that. So does that go hand in hand with Phoenix, or do you keep that completely separate?
I think in a way, a little bit of both. You know, I don't really put out that I do readings and stuff like that on the Phoenix website,
Yes.
just because I don't have a lot of time in the shop to actually do that. But, you know, people who know me know that come in there and they know that I do tarot. They're like, oh, you know, I do tarot and oracle. I mostly do oracle. So, just a little bit of clarification there.
Yep.
So it's a little bit of both, you know, because we do the psychic fair and stuff like that, and we intertwine all of that.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that, you know, doesn't matter what, you know, what your modality is, but I think that a lot of people are drawn to you because not only do you have your healing nature in general, but you also have this presence of that you did want to bring that eclectic kind of part of your life into, you know, everybody's welcome, doesn't matter what you believe in, doesn't matter what you think about, you know, I'm into everything and nothing all at the same time. So I think a lot of people that do come to you for that metaphysical presence or the readings that you actually do, and I'm one of those people, can really, you know, just go ahead and admire that about you and kind of bring that, because there's lots of things that you've taught me or that we've talked about. And it's just a way of life for you, you know,
Right.
so it's not everybody's welcome in whatever you want to do. And again, you said earlier, you know, no ego. That's who you are as a person. And that's how you know, that's how you approach what happens. And I think that that's really important when we talk about readings and stuff like that, because we have to step outside of ourselves sometimes in order to accomplish that. But, you know, I think that also what is going on in the world too, with all the shifts that are happening, and I know that that's a topic that you wanted to get into tonight. You know, that goes hand in hand with what's been happening. And of course, the strength card, sometimes we need to be reminded that even though shit's going to go down, it's still something that we can handle.
Absolutely.
So what do you have going on? Like, what do you think all of these shifts are all about?
From what I can see from people that I'm close with and just people in general, especially creatives, they're really trying to figure out their place in the world. And there's a lot of upheaval going on and, you know, just big changes. And it's not just like we're going to have this change. This change out of nowhere just punches you in the face. So I've been kind of having this feeling for a couple of weeks that there's a massive shift that's going to be happening, like in my business, in a positive way, pretty much in everybody's businesses, everybody's lives. There are going to be people that are going to come in, come out, that are going to maintain, that are going to not. It's really, sometimes it's hard to pinpoint it. Like I was kind of struggling a little bit to be like, I don't know what this feeling is, but I guess I'll just see what happens, you know? And I know for my business, we have some changes that are for the best for a lot of people that are involved in the shop and in the shop as a whole. So it's just kind of making those changes, making those shifts. And I think it's really tough for a lot of people to navigate that. And a lot of people have a hard time if they have to get rid of something that's not serving them in order to focus on the things that are. They have a real hard time, and and from what I'm seeing, a lot of people are having this really deep sense of like, well, if this doesn't work, then I feel like a failure. But you're not. You know, you have to be able to. That whole one door closes, another one opens. Well, if you are stuck in that door, you're not going to ever make it through.
No.
You know, and it's scary. Change can be scary. You know, but you know, just like the universe is going to push you whether you want it or not.
Right.
So you either can resist it, and then the floor falls out from underneath you, and now
Right.
you're like, oh, I'm hurting, everything is a little
Right.
broken, but you're going to be
Exactly.
okay.
Right. I think you're entirely right. And I think that if we're looking at, and what people may not understand about a shift, it's an energetic shift. It doesn't mean like the seismic shift. It doesn't mean like the earth is changing and flipping around. And it may feel like that, but I feel like what's happening is that we've come off of this scared mentality with a pandemic and with, spending money and taking new jobs. And we kind of have backtracked a little bit. And sometimes it's necessary to do that, which is why I think a lot of people are afraid of letting go of something that, I know this doesn't work for me, but I feel like a failure if I stop it.
Right.
And I think that has a lot to do with the fact of the energy that we've kind of been steeped in for the past 4 years of what the heck is going on here, and we don't know what's going to happen. But I think that with the optimism of that the world is changing, that's where we flip that little bit of a switch and say, that's where the door closes.
Right.
I'm optimistic that the universe has my back, or I'm supposed to do this, or I'm led into this for a particular reason. And I think that understanding that their energetic shift, we're shedding people, we're walking away from jobs. Excuse me. I just had a client reach out to me not even 5 minutes before we started talking and was like, can you throw a card for me? Because, I'm really thinking about doing this job move. And we're all in this boat of that. We know that there's big things that are supposed to be happening, but we're afraid to let go of the things that work.
Right. That we're familiar with. It's a familiar feeling, and when it comes to certain things, like jobs, for instance, I'll put that out there, when you're at work or you're doing your job and you go there and you're miserable, you're just like, you absolutely hate it.
Yep.
That's like an abusive relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. So, not saying that most people can afford to just quit your job and call it a day. Like, you have to plan because, most of us are regular people just trying to survive. But, if you're allowing yourself to be in that negative space, you're never going to move forward the way you should. Right. So, I'm really noticing those big, big shifts, because I pull a card every day at the shop for the collective and for everybody as a whole. And for us at the shop it was the Six of Swords. Okay. So, that has a lot. It was the Six of Swords, 6 of Daggers, because of the deck that it was. And for me, when I saw that, I was like, this has a lot to do with moving forward. Yeah. And it's just all about journey. Yep. Journey and cutting ties and getting rid of all of that negative shit that doesn't serve you, and it doesn't matter what it is, it's all energy. And when people start making that shift, they always go, I feel so much better. Right. And it feels uncomfortable when you're going through it, and change never feels good, right? Right. So whenever, you do something, again, body modification, we get pierced, we get a tattoo, it inherently hurts us for the beautification or for your own self, kind of self-care, if you will, right? So it hurts at first. Change always hurts. But then on the other side of that, we have this great kind of feeling of, oh my God, I'm so glad I went through that. It's like a release. Glad I finished that. I'm so glad. Like a release. I'm so glad I'm not in that space anymore. And I think we're all feeling it right now. And I think you're entirely correct. Is it the cosmos? Is it, this planet's in reverse, cowgirl? Who knows? Who cares? But what we do know is that it's time for something different, and we can all feel it. I mean, every day we can all feel it. You go to the store and people aren't looking you in the eye anymore, and you feel like, what the heck is going on in this world? Like, what is going on? Right. And I feel like it's important to recognize that and talk about it and say that even as a collective of people who deal with this day to day in energetic kind of work and feelings, even the lay person who's just watching this and like, what the heck are these two doing? But they can feel it too. They want to change their jobs. They don't want to be in that house anymore. They want to get out of that relationship, or they want to take it to the next level. Right. Maybe they don't want to leave it. Maybe they're like, I'm ready for something bigger. I'm ready to ask for this. I'm ready for,
And
go to the next step. Right.
Exactly. We're on that precipice of something greater, and the energy is shifting and changing for a particular reason. Yep. You're incredibly on point when you say that, and it's important that we look at it and say it's not, it sucks and it hurts because change hurts, but it's not going to be bad once it's finished.
Right. Right. And I think that goes hand in hand with the card that you pulled, because it takes a lot of strength.
Yeah.
To go and do those changes and to kind of put your life upside down just a little bit just to get it right again.
Yep.
And I think that's what's really cool about being a witch and being really in tune with that, is the ability to understand that stuff. Even though I'm like, what the hell's happening? Right. Understanding that it's for the best, no matter what the situation is. If it's a loss in general, if it's a loss of relationships, or if it's a loss of a job or a loss of something, it's recognizing it and mourning the loss of that, but not staying in that. I think a lot of people tend to stay in that, and they keep doing this. They keep walking in circles, and they can't figure out why they can't get their shit together, because you keep going back into that the same shit.
Yeah.
You're not allowing yourself to turn that corner and look at something new. And that's like, when I read cards for a lot of people, that's kind of how I put that stuff out there. I'm pretty, much like you, I'm to the point. Like, I'm not going to candy coat anything. You're coming to me because you're at a crossroads. Probably not going to tell you what you want to hear.
Nope.
But you're going to learn from it.
Right.
If you allow it.
Yep. And you're going to take that information and you're going to make it yours. It's not for me.
Right. It's not for me, because when they leave, I don't remember their readings, because I'm not supposed to hold on to that. That's their journey. That's what they're supposed to do. And when it comes to changes and stuff, we all want to know what the next step is. We want a handbook. It's not how life is. Life doesn't work that way.
No. Nope.
I'm 46 going on 47. You'd think I know that all the time, but sometimes I don't.
No, of course not. I mean, well, but doing an energetic healing or a reading for somebody, or giving them a little bit of basis, is exactly that. We're not supposed to know your stuff. We're not supposed to dive deep into all of your traumas, but we're supposed to give you the tools so you can figure yourself out. And realize that even if it's affirmations, I feel like a lot of what I'm telling people, they're like, yeah, I kind of felt that way. And you're like, that's what you needed to hear, that you're on the right track. And that's what you were supposed to do. So don't beat yourself up, and you're good.
Right.
So,
and that's their intuition. That's their intuition. Yes. And as human beings, like, I love seeing people go, yeah, that's what I've been feeling. That's your intuition.
Right. Right.
For Christ's sake, listen to it. It's never wrong.
Nope. 9 times out of 10, it's going to lead you in the right direction of where you're supposed to be. Is it going to be for the collective? No.
It's for you.
It's for
you. Which is the most important thing in the planet, is you. Call it selfish, but I call it selfless, because what good are you if you are not allowing yourself to do what you need to do?
Exactly. 150%. Because we cannot. So I tell people all the time, clients, friends, you name it, we cannot control anybody but ourselves.
Right.
Actually, I was just having a conversation with my kid about it, because, there was something going on at school and blah, blah, blah. And I said, look, honey, you can't control anybody else. The only person you can control is you. So if you don't like that, or you don't like this, then you figure out how you change it.
Right.
And that's the end result. It isn't like, oh, I got to share, or I got to do that. Like, who cares? It is that, how do you feel about it? And how do you want to change it? You change you.
Right.
The only thing.
Right.
And I think that having a conversation like this and talking about all of these shifts that are happening, and realizing you and I can talk about it until we're blue in the face, because we know that the patterns need to be stopped. Because we're never going to learn that lesson if we continue in that same, what'd you say, walking around in a
walking in circles. Yeah.
We're not going to learn a lesson if we're going to continue to do that. So we have to talk about this openly and say, this shift is real. If you are feeling called to do something, then think about it, plan it. That 6 of Swords, that, strength card, think about all of that and how you're going to rectify your situation that you can control. It's not, I'm going to make that person love me, or I'm going to make that boss give me more money. It's that I'm going to try to control myself so that I don't get worked up if that's not working in my favor.
Right. And if that doesn't work in my favor here, then I'm going to find something else that will do will work in my favor.
Exactly.
And it's just like anything else, you know, you have to put the work in.
Mm-hmm.
It's there, but you still have to put the work in.
Right.
You know,
Right.
sometimes things just fall in your lap and you're like, oh, damn, nice, you know,
Thank
but,
you.
you know, but you have to put the work in. And it's just interesting to see, you know, seeing people, you know, just kind of accepting that change or being more open to it and just being like, oh, okay, I didn't think that was a thing. I didn't think that this could be like an option. I didn't think, yeah, you just have to not think, you can't be like this with the blinders on. You got to
Right.
think more open, you know,
Right.
and really kind of get a feel for everything. But it's hard because by default, we're humans and we're driven by this.
Right.
And by, you know, most people push that intuition away,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where they end up shooting themselves in the foot.
They do. They
I've
do.
done it myself.
Mm-hmm. And nobody's perfect, and we've all
You
done
know,
it.
I still
Yep.
do it. You know, people are like, oh, you must know. I'm like, no, I don't know shit sometimes.
Yeah, I have no idea
I'm
what's
like,
going
I'm
on.
still a human
Yep.
doing dumb things, but whatever,
Yep.
you know.
Just a dumb human.
You know.
Yep. And I mean, nobody's perfect, and these are all lessons that we have to learn and we have to go through. And yeah, it's something that we, you know, sometimes we have to fall apart and rebirth ourselves from the flames like the phoenix does.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have you done that? Probably innumerable. I have too. So many
Gabillion.
times.
If that's a
Million.
number, a gabillion. Like, I mean,
Kabillion.
I've changed. There's been so many changes that's happened in the shop in the past, even like year and a half, even like after COVID, you know, letting some people go that weren't really bringing what they needed to bring, and because they were just stuck, and bringing people on, and then kind of changing how things go. It's just, you have to have that ebb and flow. You have to. A lot of people are rigid. You have, especially if you're a business owner, you have to be able to be fluid.
Mhm.
Otherwise,
Yep.
you're just going to be stuck.
You
I'm a
gotta-
Sagittarian. I don't like to be stuck anywhere. I like
No,
to go do
you
whatever.
like to fly. You like
You know?
to be crazy and be like, let's do this today. Woo!
Just yesterday, you know, and they're like, okay.
Yep. But I feel like, you know, change is good. Change needs to happen. I feel like by the end of next or the end of this year and into next year, we're definitely going to have some difference, you know, different kind of collective energy in general. I feel like I've been saying that a lot within my readings lately because it's true. It's not like something I'm pulling out of my butt, because I feel like, you know, what's going to happen after the new year is that we're going to have a different kind of mindset in general, because some of these shifts have been happening.
Right. And
And
I think
so,
too, going back to COVID and the pandemic, is a lot of people have found their worth.
mhm.
I really feel a lot of people like, you know, I found my worth. You know, I've realized that I can do this job, but I can do it the way I want to.
Right.
You know, I don't want to do this job where I'm being treated like shit every day, or I'm in this relationship that is no longer good for me, you know, so I need to move on, you know. But the thing is now we're back to normal, quote unquote, that a lot of those habits are starting to fall back again. Because I think, you know, by humans, we tend to forget that type of stuff.
Right.
But like I said, I talk with a lot of creative people, and as creatives, you know, it's hard for a lot of us to be able to like give up something we've been doing for so long, but to do something else, or to kind of change the way we've been doing things. And I've noticed that too. A lot of creative people are like, I've been doing this for like 20 years this same way, but these 20 years I haven't really been able to move forward. I'm like, well, that's kind of a sign that maybe you should switch something a little bit.
Yeah, you need to kind of tweak your perspective, or, you know, maybe it's learn something different, or immerse yourself in something, and maybe that will make you feel better. And I feel also, as creative people, there's a lot of reinvention that happens, because you know, we don't want that stagnation that really goes on. But when you're good at something, you're good at something.
Right.
So you have that dichotomy of sorts, or that kind of back and forth of, well, what am I going to do? Like, you know, for instance, something like, you're really great at black and gray. You're fantastic. You do very, you know, it's amazing what you do. But, you know, I'm sure there are some times that you're like, I really just want to do color.
That's mostly I want to do color.
Yeah, I just really want to do it.
I love color. I love all tattoos, but I'm like, well, I'm just going to do what I can. What I'm, you know, if people really like my black and gray, awesome, you know.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I know what you mean, you know, and it's just kind of embracing it, you know, not being like, oh, I got to do this. No, get your ass in.
Right. Come on, let's do it.
Let's do this, you know.
You know what I just thought of too is that next year, so we're talking about the shift, and we're talking about, especially during this time, which is like, we're going into spooky season in general. We are in October. This is,
The veil is thinning. The veil
yeah,
is thinning.
the veil is thinning. People say that all the time, and I'm like, the veil is kind of always in a thin position.
Always a little thin, but it's just a little more thin now.
Right, exactly. And Samhain is coming, and so we can feel all of that great energy that's happening, all that power that's kind of coming behind it. And but anyway, it makes sense that we are going through a shift at this moment in time, because the other thing that I was going to say was that next year in 2024, it is going to be the year of strength. Every year has a card that is a connotation. So if we add that digit down, it comes to number 8, which is the strength card. So it makes sense. Right now we're in the chariot, which is, full steam ahead, and we're trying to figure things out. It's all about communication in certain ways. Next year is going to be that big kind of eye-opening environment. So that makes sense of why we're saying that everything's going to change after that beginning of the year, because you're really going to feel like, okay, that change needed to happen. We went through some shit, but now we're coming on the other side, and we're stronger than ever because we decided that we were going to take that apple and take a bite out of it,
Right.
But yeah. So what else do you have going on out in the world?
Well, I do a lot of kickboxing.
You do a lot. Yeah. And I was going to say, we could talk about all of the crazy stuff that you do, and crazy in a great way.
Yeah.
You are one busy beaver, that's for sure.
Yeah. I, with running the business, tattooing, I have an apprentice, who's a year in today. Sammy's a year in today with her apprenticeship. And then
Sammy.
Chris made a year of being licensed. So my baby, so growing up, So, I've lost a lot of weight. I do a lot of kickboxing. I do a lot of strength stuff because, working with my spiritual side, I also have to work on my physical side to be able to feel better about myself. So,
right.
I coach kickboxing.
Yep.
Things like that. And, I work a lot, and, but I love what I do all the way around. The people that I'm involved in, they're awesome.
Right.
And, just now, like myself, I'm trying to find a little bit of wiggle room so I can do all the things like more of the witchy things. Cause as always, all that stuff not falls by the wayside, but I don't do it as much as I probably should.
Right.
My partner and I, we just moved into a house that we're renting, and I have my own room, which I'm in now, which is my witch room, so it's like really but I have not had the time to really do what I need to do. This is like the first time I've been able to sit. So
oh my God,
that's the universe telling me,
amazing.
do this shit, bitch.
Yeah. But it's what a journey that you've been on in general. But, and not only that, so let's kind of take a little step back and look at, not only do you help people feel better about themselves by putting your energy and your art on them, you also provide, without doing it and, asking them, but you're also providing healing energy with Reiki as you're doing these things. And then not only that, the readings that you do, but also coaching kickboxing. Now, you were just a patron, right? You were literally but then you developed that side. And tell the fine people out in the world where it is that we can find you if we want to find you to coach.
I go to Bachner's Realistic Self-Defense on Dyer Avenue in Cranston.
Okay.
We do fitness, kickboxing, and jiu-jitsu, and there's semi-private classes where you add more weights and stuff like that. So it's really, it'll kick your ass, literally. But it's fitness kickboxing, so it's not like, you're not beating each other up with pads and stuff, which I like to do that, but whatever. But I started doing that back in 4 years ago. And when I was at my heaviest, and, I ended up getting weight loss surgery about 2 years ago, and I lost 120 pounds, and now I'm gaining muscle and strength and all that stuff. And I coach there 3 times a week, and it keeps me accountable to be able to, I coach and I go, and it's like, and it helps other people, which I think is great.
Yeah. And I think that you, again, stepping outside of doing all the other things that you do, and at the lowest level of what, on your resume, if we just said you're a healer in general. This is what you've been doing. This is what you continue to do, whether it's putting your artwork and your energy on somebody and helping them clear themselves out, or helping them on their fitness journey as well. Because you're a testament to having that, so many people get weight loss surgery and then they don't do the work after the fact. But you are that testament of, you're that success story that you're like, all you have to do is hold yourself accountable. Right. All you have to do is,
you put the work in. The hard part is now. The hard part is now. And that goes with everything, even with tattooing. And I always explain to everybody that I teach, I'm like, right now you're apprenticing, you're learning everything. I'm not saying that it's easy, but the hard part is when you are a full on tattoo artist. This is what you do, because it is work all the time. I give people the tools. Here's the tools. It's just like my weight loss surgery. I call my new stomach Sleevey Nicks. Because I gotta name everything, So like, she's just a tool. You know what I mean? So it's like what you do with that.
Yeah.
So, because I was like, I'm not gonna go through all of this, and they're gonna take 80% of my stomach, because your girl loves food. I like food.
Yeah.
Well,
you're Italian, right? So
I'm Italian. Well, I'm Italian and I'm Irish and I'm German and I like food.
I like food.
My grandmother's love language was food. And I'm not going to go through all this just to kind of go backwards.
Yeah.
And this has a lot to do with tattooing as well. And I see this. It's like a lot of people, and it's not me being an asshole telling people everybody wants to be an apprentice, but nobody wants to be a tattoo artist. Yeah. It's kind of true, because it's romanticized.
Yeah.
Do I love what I do? Yes. Is it hard? Absolutely. Not just the tattooing part of it, but everything else that goes along with it, especially when you're first starting, because you'll go 3 weeks with nobody coming in, or you have people flake out. So, it's really, I usually can see within like the first year of somebody being licensed whether or not they're going to be able to weather that storm, because that's when the hard work goes in. So, and the same goes with the weight loss surgery. The same goes with a lot of stuff. And, it's really just learning who you are as time goes on. Because like you said, changes happen every 7 years, 7 to 13 years or something like that. And it's really, shit really goes down when you hit 30. Like everything's like, okay,
we're gone and we're not coming back.
I thought I knew something, but damn. But yeah, that's just kind of how, when I went in to do the surgery and to do the weight loss stuff, I didn't expect to be I didn't go in there going, well, I'm going to be an inspiration to people. No, I needed to do this for myself, for my health stuff.
Yep.
And I don't, I'm not afraid to tell people that. I'm like, I had weight loss surgery, to get my health back. And it just kind of happens that people are like, you're an inspiration. I'm like, good. If I can help people get healthy in any way, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, I'm all for it. Because I didn't have an easy upbringing, it's really, like I have a wonderful mother. She worked her ass off. She still does to this day. 78. She takes my kickboxing classes, this woman. 78.
I bet
78. Right. But we didn't have an easy time when I was younger. It was a struggle. And, it was something where I could have let that affect me negatively. Or I could just be like, well, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Right.
And that's kind of the tenacity.
And that's all about the card that we pulled tonight, which makes a lot of sense. But I feel like also I can't talk, but what's been happening in general is that you are an inspiration, and people don't necessarily see all of the great stuff that you do have your hands in a lot of different things, and you do a lot of things, but really at the end of it, like I said, the lowest level, if we just looked at your resume, you are a healer. You've been that way. And the reason why is because as you heal people, I feel like you're healing yourself.
Right.
And you're feeling a lot better about your own self by helping somebody else. The most selfless person, and I'm sure Chrissy and James and Dean would agree with me on that one and say, that all of these, and Danny,
of course, Danny,
things, I know.
You have to get the Danny.
I know. But all of these things that you have accomplished and that you've done has never been just about Rhiannon. Never.
Right. Right.
It's never been that way.
Right. Which is could be a blessing and a curse because, when you do that, because I like to give people opportunities and chances. And I
Mhm.
have been known, Danny's like, yeah, you got your heart, you got a big heart, and you got too big of a heart.
Yep.
And to me, there's really no such thing.
Mhm.
I mean, there can be, but Danny's very overprotective of me. Danny's my other artist. He's my protege, my first ever apprentice. He's my big little brother. And it really, and I understand where he's coming from because he's like, must protect,
Yeah.
but I like to give people that, especially if I put a lot of energy into that person and really help teach somebody, I want to give them opportunities,
Mhm.
especially, again, like I talked about earlier, how I wasn't really given a lot of opportunities and I was always pushed down and told, you can't, you can't, you can't. And I'm
Right.
all like, hold my beer. Like, it's not going to happen.
Hold
I'm going to
my
do what I want,
beer.
but,
Oh my God.
but like I said, I'm learning myself to be like, okay, maybe I've given too much and I need to kind of step back a little bit and give just a bit and just put those boundaries up and be like, all right, this is what I'm going to deal with and this is what I'm not going to deal with.
Right.
And, that's a learning process for me too, especially as a business owner.
Right.
Bottom line, I'm there every single day, and that's the
Mhm.
hardest part is working with people and making sure that I don't know, your employees, the people that work with you
Mhm.
are okay and that they understand that, things happen and this and that. And like, there's
Right.
always something new that comes up.
Right. Right. And that too of working with different people and helping them on their journeys too, like you said it yourself earlier, sometimes you have to let people go because they're not aligning with what
Right.
is their highest and best or wherever they're supposed to be. And it's not necessarily, a negative thing. It just means that that journey needs to continue in some other vein, in some other
Mm-hmm.
place.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen people go through the shop in different facets and different capacities, and it's never any like ill will or
Mm-hmm.
can't stand that person. It's always like I
Right.
wish them the best of
Right.
luck and
Right.
on their journey and
Right.
whatever needs to
Because it's
happen.
business. And,
Yes.
I don't have room in my soul
No,
to
you don't.
dislike somebody. Even if you did me dirty, then I want to be like, well, okay, but I don't have that in me
Nope.
to be like, this just takes up too much space.
Yeah.
It's too much drama, too much space. If people don't like me, which a lot of people don't, and that's okay.
Mhm. Yep.
That's just how that goes. That's
Yep.
perfectly fine. You don't have to like me.
Right.
But again, it's like, everybody has their purpose.
Mhm.
Everybody comes into your life for a reason,
Right.
whether they're there briefly, it's a learning experience, a stepping stone, or they're there
Mhm.
until the day you die.
Right.
It's just that's how that goes. It's ebbs and flows. Just like we talked about
Right.
earlier, how it's just being able, like
Right.
a buoy in the ocean. You just gotta kind of move. you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And again with the whole shift in the energetic kind of things that we're going through, this internal battle that people may have, or any of the things that they're really kind of thinking about. If anybody was an inspiration in all of the things that you do, to take a page out of your grimoire, so to speak, and to say like, it's not a personal thing, it's business. It's how
Mhm.
you're going to, even if your own self is your business, then that's all you need to do. You need
Right.
to change it, you need to figure it out, you need to
Right.
better yourself, you need to walk away from that, or you need to figure out what makes sense to you in order to do those
Right.
things. So
Absolutely.
I think that what we are going through and what we're feeling as a collection or as a collective in general, of all of these crazy things and crazy situations that we're really feeling, it's that the reason why we're talking about it today, or the reason that we're really getting involved in it, is to say that the change is coming. We are going to feel it, but it will be in our best interest if we
Mhm.
believe it to be so.
It's gonna be okay. It always is if you allow it. If you
Yes.
allow it, you cannot dig your heels in the dirt. You just can't. Otherwise,
No,
you're just gonna fall on your face. But then you
exactly.
got to get up.
Right.
Then you got to get up. But that's, really, like we talked about, like what we wanted to kind of focus on. I'm like, this has been really big. And I see it with a
Yeah.
lot of people lately.
Right.
The past couple of weeks, especially, I'm like, we should talk about this, because I
Right.
think it,
No, and
right.
yeah, and no, and I think that what I always open it up in that way with other people. Is there anything that you have going on? And I think that what you brought to the table in general when it comes to this, like, yeah, we can all feel it, but sometimes people don't speak up.
Right. And they're like, oh, that's what I've been feeling. Okay, so I'm not crazy. No, you're not.
Cuckoo.
You're not crazy. Right? You're feeling the feels, and it's okay. Some people, this is their first time feeling this. They're like, I don't understand, and it's like, you're not the only one, and it's okay to talk about it.
Right. People ask me all the time, I'm sure they ask you, what's going on with the moon? Or what's going on? Like, and
is it Mercury and Gatorade? What's happening?
I know. I love it. And
I'm no, it's just a shift, boo-boo. It's okay. This is not going to be your first one. It's your first one, but it's not going to be your last, No. It's okay.
Yeah. So. Yep. And, it is what we all are feeling. It's not based on the fact that the veil is thin, although,
I mean, it is to a certain extent, but it's not all that way. And it's not, like you said, it's not so much as the planets or whatever it is. Sometimes it just is.
Sometimes it just is. Speaking of the veil being thin, have you witnessed any crazy stuff in the sense of your own practice or what you've been feeling? Is there anything that you've been noticing? Because I haven't really noticed anything just yet, but I know that there's something that's going to pop up and I'm going to be like, all right, I got you.
It's really, I mean, I see things all the time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm like, what's that? Well, Danny and I, when we drove to New Orleans and back. So I didn't really pick much up in New Orleans, which was fine because there was a lot going on.
Yeah, there was too much for you.
A lot going on, really overstimulating. But when we came back, I wanted to go to Waverly initially, but we didn't get tickets in time. But we went to Penhurst. Penhurst was an asylum. Back in the 1800s into the 60s and 70s. It closed down in the 80s.
Pennsylvania?
It's in Pennsylvania, yeah. And there's a lot that goes on there. We did the day tour because, of course, we didn't have time to do the paranormal. Plus, I didn't want to do a paranormal investigation with a bunch of people I didn't know. But there was a little girl there, and she held my hand. Like, pretty much she kept touching my hand. And she was just so cute. Like, she was the sweetest thing. And I was telling Danny, I'm like, she's here. She's touching my hand. And this is before everything started, like the history tour started. He goes, there wasn't kids here. I'm like, I don't know, but there's a little girl here, but there were kids there.
Yeah, there were. Yep.
And it was just like, she was just, I need to hold your hand. And she was just a cute little thing. She probably was about 8 with like black hair, like kind of at a bob, like right up about here, wearing a little white little dress thing going on. Well, they usually show up in white dresses for me. I don't know why. Like, it's like the female energy sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that's what, she kept holding my hand. Mm-hmm. And she was the cutest thing. So that's one thing. I'm like, this is neat, But I did say, like, you can go, you can move on if you want. But you just can't come home with me, because that's the one thing James always tells me. He's like, that's fine, just don't bring anything home. And sometimes I do, and I can't help it, but I tell him to leave. I'm like, you gotta go, because he doesn't like it. He's just like,
Either that or Dean doesn't like it.
Yeah, Dean's like, no, like, listen, you can harass me, don't harass my dog.
Right.
But exactly. One of my best friends passed away in March, and his name was Aaron. We called him Goof.
Is it this guy?
Huh?
Is it this guy?
It was that guy. Yeah. That was very hard. That was very, 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 very difficult. And, he comes through every so often, and he's always like, babe, stop. Because he calls the people he loved babe or whatever. And he's like, it's okay, I'm fine, and
yeah.
So he's come through. He hangs out. He'll come to my house, and I'm all like, well, especially when he first crossed over, I was like, dude, holy shit, you scared the hell out of me, because that's how we would talk,
Yeah.
So that's another thing I noticed too, is when you get into this and you're really more embracing your spiritual side when it comes to death and people passing. Yes, it's painful. Yes, it hurts, but you have a better understanding of it.
Yep.
Knowing that they're not gone forever. They're still around. Mm-hmm. And they'll come around, but they're not gone.
No, and
they're just not here physically, which sucks because I can't give Goof a hug, But he comes through all the time, in my dreams, all the time, So
I agree. Yep.
Lately he's been popping through.
Yep, and maybe not because the veil is very thin, or it's just maybe also the changes that are happening for you too. Mm-hmm. You have that reassurance from one of your best friends who's like, you're number one.
He's like, you're number one. That's the Goof salute.
Yep. But it's really funny that all of that kind of transpires, and and we get to this moment and everybody's like, oh, Halloween and
Yeah.
Busy season and all. Yeah, it's only busy because people want to book stuff and get all the witchy stuff going.
Right.
But
And
for us, it's year round.
This is every day. I have a sign that says,
every
who
day,
needs
every day.
Halloween? I'm a witch all year.
Exactly.
I mean, I love Halloween, don't get me wrong, but
There
every
you
day
go.
is this, and it's
Yep.
it's really, but right now I haven't really, the only thing that's really like prevalent is that shift feeling, which
Yeah.
is weird because normally a lot of the spiritual energy is really usually like super duper high, but because that shift energy to me, I'm feeling is so strong, I think it's kind of overshadowing it a little bit to a certain
Right.
extent. But as the month goes on and as the winter goes on, it'll be more and more.
Yeah,
That's just
and
what
it will
happens
be
for me.
more prevalent, but I feel like it will be more prevalent, but it will be more of an understanding
Mhm.
because when you boil water and you can kind of feel it go like on the stove, or like you can kind of feel it starting to bubble and percolate and trickle and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's where we are right now. And
Right.
then once we start to get in a rolling boil and there's more of an understanding and there's more of a change and there's more, okay, this feels good, we're rolling with it, that makes more sense. And I feel like
Right.
that's where we're going to be shortly in the near future, that we're going to understand what needs to transpire and what needs to happen.
Like a cauldron.
Like a cauldron.
Like a cauldron.
Yes. I have one here somewhere. But is there anything going on? Anything that you want to promote? Is there any specials? Any stuff that you have going on within your shop or within your, your own personal stuff that you have with Lady Rhiannon?
I don't really have anything going on with Lady Rhiannon. I'm booking, if people go to ladyrhiannonsrealm.com, they can book a reading if they want. Right now, the only special we have going on is my apprentice Sammy is doing a Friday the 13th special. They're tattoos that are $80. Chris is doing the same thing. Chris is by appointment. So if they go to phoenixtattoori.com or they go on Instagram and look at Phoenix Tattoo RI, they'll be able to see all that. But yeah, right now, Chrissy and I are going to start working on our psychic fair for next year. We're going to start kind of doing that again. We do that every year. And then we're going to be probably doing another convention next year. But right now, we're just focusing on the two specials that my artists are doing. And that's about it.
Okay. The psychic fair is so much fun. If you haven't been, last year was a little dicey with weather, but we still made it work, and it was
cold in June. I'm like, God dang.
It was cold. It was
I had to wear a winter coat. I was like, what the hell?
I know. But the location too changed this year, which was really great. I really liked it. Yeah. We were in a zoo. We were in an old zoo.
Yeah, because we were at 7 Arrows for a long time, and I love Judy and Mish. Love them so much, but it got to the point where we kind of outgrew it, so we went to Slater Park, and they want us to come back, next year. So we're definitely, he's like, you need to come back. So I'm like, all right, cool. So we're going to do it again next year.
Okay. Well, I'm in. If you need me, I'm here.
Absolutely.
And it's a great event, even if, people are wondering and what goes on. But the psychic fair, I feel like it's so necessary, especially outside of Halloween time. Good job there.
Yeah. Thank you.
But I will post all of your websites, how to find you if people don't know. I know that I share some of your stuff as you go. And I got to say, you're on point with all the Sabbats. I always share your Sabbat info. And that really helps everybody out too, because, we're not, everybody's not necessarily on point with everything that it goes on with Sabbats. And so when I see your little, I'm like, yep, sharing it.
Gotta share it.
Thank you. But you're an incredible person.
Thank you. So are you.
And all the things that you bring to the table and all the things that you're involved in and your change that has progressed throughout the years that I've known you. You are an inspiration. You are the embodiment of the strength card. All of the things that you have gone through and all of the things that you continue to knock out of the park. Couldn't be prouder to say that you're my friend. And
thank you.
If you haven't checked Rhiannon out, please do. I will make sure that you get all of her information. You guys, thank you so much for being with me. I made it to 60 minutes.
You did. I saw a little thing.
Yay, because usually I get too nervous and I'm like, but we got it. So there's your info down at the bottom of the screen for just one of the many things that you do. But we'll make sure to share all of the rest. And Rhiannon, thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you,
guys
Sarah.
out there.